Hey, welcome, Bron.
Hello.
I'm Pronger Faulkner, for those who don't know me, and I'm here today with Bron Hadley to talk about our collaboration book called Absolute Will, which was released last month in October 2021. The idea for this collaboration came to me earlier this year as I was still working on my first book, and I kept allowing myself to get distracted with other things on my to-do list, one of which was trying to come up with a fundraising idea for a project that my fiance Mike and I want to do in Nicaragua. Eventually, the urge to create this inspirational collaboration got so strong, I knew that I needed to get going on it. And I really wanted women from as many countries from around the world as possible to make this a global effort on inspiring others. And I wanted every story to have a health and a willpower aspect to it. So when the idea came to me that a book collaboration would be a great way to fundraise, it quickly became my #1 priority to make this happen by the end of the year. And as you know, Bron, we had some tight timelines.
Sure did.
But we got it done. So all of the profits from the author entry fees and the sales through the first month of our launch are going towards Mike and I building a house for a family in Nicaragua who doesn't have a home of their own. And I'm so thrilled that we have 21 authors in this book, Bron and me and 19 other amazing women from 7 countries around the world. Our authors are from Canada, the United Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, the United States, Australia, South Africa, and Bulgaria. And we have linked arms to share our personal, vulnerable, insightful, true stories of willpower when facing emotional and mental health crises, physical injuries, and disease. This collaboration has been done completely virtually, emails, Zoom calls, Facebook Messenger. And with all of us around the world, our time zone differences have made for some challenges. As a real life example, it's 12:30 Friday afternoon for me here in mid-Canada and 5:30 Saturday morning, right, Bron? Saturday morning for you in Australia. So not usually an ideal time to be doing an interview at 5:30 in the morning, but good for you. So this book is self-published and self-promoted by all of our authors, not done through a traditional publishing house. It's been a grassroots effort, which makes what we've done with it so far all the more incredible. My first book became a bestseller in 2 categories, so I was pretty sure that I could do it with Absolute Will, especially after tweaking some of my marketing strategies, plus the fact that we would have a built-in book launch team with all 21 of us sharing it. What I didn't expect was that we would hit #1 bestseller in 8 categories across 3 countries, Canada, the US, and Australia. It is still holding in a #1 bestseller spot in Australia as of today. It's been 3 weeks sitting in that #1 bestseller spot in one of the categories. And I also didn't expect that we would hit #1 new release in 30 categories across 4 countries, Canada, the US, Australia, and the UK. And this has just been in the first 4 weeks after our launch. It's just remarkable. The reviews so far on this book say that these stories are raw, real, thought-provoking, heartwarming, life-changing, well-written, and that this book is a fantastic read, can't put it down. The stories are truly inspiring. You feel a personal connection to each of the writers' journeys, and that this book has given so much hope to others. Those are all direct quotes from reviews on Amazon. Bron's chapter is called My 4 Reasons, chapter 2 in Absolute Will. Thanks for being here, Bron, especially so early in the morning.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
So can you tell everyone a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what your chapter is about in Absolute Will?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me here. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be part of this wonderful collaboration. My name's Bron Hadley. I'm from Australia. I live in a little country town called Murrumbateman, which is just north of the capital of Australia. I have 6 children in total, 2 stepsons, and my 4 beautiful children who are my inspiration behind my chapter of this book. I'm a personal trainer in Murray Bateman, and at the moment I have a goal of helping many women through midlife in this time of our life, which I call the Menno Funk. The chapter came about when I was talking to my good friend Jen, and she was telling me about you and the book. And when I started writing the chapter, I knew what I wanted to talk about, but I didn't actually realize that where the chapter would go. And it's amazing because once you sort of start writing it, everything just sort of started to flow and come out. So my chapter was about it was sort of the very end of my marriage and what brought me to making a decision to go it alone with my 4 little ones. And it's a interesting story in the sense that when we think of domestic abuse, we think of a lot of physical abuse. And whilst there was some of that within my marriage, it's the emotional abuse and a lot of the other stuff that a lot of women go through. And I don't think that there's enough of that is spoken about. I know when I was going through my time in my marriage, that there was a lot of stuff on the news about women that were being seriously harmed to the point where some were murdered. And I remember saying to myself, well, he's not that bad, because, know what I mean? Because I wasn't experiencing that kind of, when you're talking murder as opposed to being restricted with bank accounts and things like that, you think you tell yourself that it's okay. So yeah, that's why it's really important for me to get this particular piece of my story out, so that I can have a voice for a lot of other women that might be sitting in relationships that tell themselves that, it's not that bad. I'm okay. So that's why this was really important for me.
That's so amazing. And I really resonate with that as well. I've been in some really challenging abusive relationships as well. And yeah, we tell ourselves, oh, it's not that bad, basically because we're still alive at that point. So it must not be that bad. And yeah, I think it's more common that we do just sort of think, well, I'll be all right. And other people have it worse. So I admire you for sharing this part of your story and for, being such an inspiration and such a beacon of hope and strength for other women as well. So yeah,
thank you.
Awesome. So when you first found out about this collaboration, you said it was through Jen, who is also in this book. So what made you decide that you wanted to jump in?
Oh gosh, I didn't have to think about it twice. When I was going through that time in my life, my girlfriends were my beacon of hope and my light, because we used to get together and I used to just dump everything that was going on. So they were one of my strategies that I used to get stuff out. And they used to say to me, Bron, you need to write a book. Like, no one could be going through what you're going through. There's a whole lot of stuff that is, I'm sure, would be part of many other chapters. And I've kept journals, and I've kept, I went through the family law court for many years, so I have binders of affidavits and things like that. So I've always wanted to tell my story in the hope that it would help others. So when this opportunity came up, I just jumped at it, because I have, which I'll get into a little bit later, I have some big dreams that I've always had to help some other women that might be going through this, particularly young mums that have little babies that are struggling and feel constrained in their life and in their marriage. And all they want to do is be a great mum. And and just give their kids opportunities.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it was really important for me to share. And like I said, I wasn't planning on sharing this particular part of my story, but that is sort of the part where I was woken up by one of my kids, and sort of when you're in it, like I said earlier, you tell yourself it's okay until there's this little light that can come from someone else, and it came from my son. And I was like, this has got to stop.
So powerful. So powerful, Bron. This is, what you're doing and sharing this part of your story is going to resonate with so many people. I mean, you already know that just from some of your posts that you've been posting about the book, right? That this is really going to be something, that can last a long, long time and can change lives, because when other women read your story and realize, what you've gone through and what you've now made of your life, I mean, it's so powerful and so incredible.
And I think too, when you're in it, and you're just trying to survive, and it's not a matter of survival of life and death. It's a matter of survival of trying to navigate through. I had 4 children. I had 4 children under 4, and when I was going through my separation, they were 3, 4, 5, and 7. So, it's a scary thought of possibly losing your home that the children have been raised in. I had a really, really good job with the public sector, but it's not a decision that you take lightly, regardless of what you're going through, because I know that there were many times that I used to tell myself, you know what, it's okay. You're strong enough to put up with this, just as long as they're safe. They've got a home, they've got food, they've got shelter, they've got all of those things. So you sort of push to the side, your own trauma and things like that, because I guess a future of the unknown of where do we live if I do this and all of that is just too scary. And I guess the part that I wrote about my chapter was with my son, hearing stuff that occurred that night, and then me thinking to myself, I have 3 sons. What would I be teaching them if I stayed and that this was normal? Could I live with myself knowing that they would possibly do this to their future partners? And I just, and that was too much for me, and I couldn't do that. I've got
goosebumps just hearing you talk about that, because that is so powerful for them as well. You have changed their lives and possibly outcomes for their own children or future children, just by what you went through and made, that the decision that you made to get out has really changed so many other lives for the better as well. Yeah.
And of course my daughter as well. I read all the books that told me that that daughters are more likely to choose partners that are in line with father figures and things like that. And it was just, so yes, so that's where all of that came from. And it was funny that it brought a lot of stuff up for me, even though I dealt with it so many years ago, and I've had counseling and things like that. I guess even then you push a lot of that aside, and that is what fuels you and drives you. But when you actually write it, it's like, wow, I think back on what my life was like, and And it's just crazy to think that that was just another world back then. Wow, it's incredible.
And you're so right that writing really brings out, you know, a lot of different things for different people. And sometimes it can bring out things that we had maybe even forgotten about. Isn't that interesting when you're writing? So how was the actual writing process for you? You've already kind of alluded to a little bit of it. And did anything surprise you as you were writing your chapter?
Oh gosh, yes. The actual writing of it. So I'm a terrible writer. I'll be.
But you're not.
Oh, I am. So I rallied around and had a girlfriend who is a beautiful writer who helped me get my words out from in here and put them on paper. So we were going backwards and forwards. But one of the interesting things that came up for me when I was writing this was, even though I went through that experience in my late 20s, mid to late 20s, it actually brought up a lot of stuff that happened to me as a child, with my dad and my mum. So that was the interesting thing that I didn't realize would happen, because one of my very first memories as a child is of domestic abuse. So it's interesting that a lot of stuff that I think as a child I'd put aside, it sort of brought a lot of that up as well. So, and I think, you know, sometimes I think I'm a life coach as well. And sometimes I think when we push stuff aside, I think we need to allow ourselves to sit in thoughts that are going on around us, not when they're unhealthy, but I do think that we need to, I think when we push too much away and try to push it aside, that's when it can resonate within our bodies, and, you know, it can manifest in other ways in our bodies. And I think it's really important to allow and sit with those things that happen, and yeah, it brought some stuff up for me from my childhood, and which was interesting. I wasn't expecting that at all.
That is so interesting. Yeah. Wow.
And it made me think a lot of my mum. So yeah, but yeah, look, it is what it is, and I'm a big believer that we all go through things for a reason, and you may not know right now what that reason is. You may not even find out in 5 years' time what that reason is. But for me, at the age of 54, and what I went through in my, you know, late 20s, or even what I went through as a child, it's all coming to the forefront for me now of what my why is and what's driving me now. So it's quite incredible.
That's so cool. So based on this experience, do you think that you'll want to write your own book in the future, or perhaps be in another collaboration at some point?
Oh gosh, I'd love to. I would absolutely love. And I think the scary thought for me is the fact that I have a fear of writing. So that's probably why I've never done it. But I would absolutely jump at the opportunity to be in another collaboration, or to even write my own book. So yes, I'd love to.
Well, and if you have friends around you too that are good, you know, really good writers that you can rely on, you could definitely, you know, lean on them to get your book done, or like you talked about, you know, to do another collaboration chapter. So that's amazing to have people like that are, you know, going to rally around you and help you get it done.
And they have, yeah. And all my friends, like I had one girlfriend last night that texted me to say that she bought 12 books last night as Christmas gifts for her friends.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have amazing friends. Yeah.
Oh, that is super cool. Wow.
Yeah. So hopefully those numbers skyrocket even further.
I'm going to go and check the stats. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So what's your top piece of advice for someone who might be thinking that they want to become a published author?
Oh gosh, I think just start. Even if at the moment you don't have the opportunity to present itself, that you know, like when Jen told me about this collaboration, just start writing. Get yourself a journal and just start writing. it was amazing. I used to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning and just spend an hour just getting my thoughts down, which is why I sort of said in the beginning, I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know where it was starting. I just started to write, and I used to get up and I just wrote pages and pages and pages. And that's when I shared it with my friend, and she said, this is a beautiful part of your story, Bron. So I'd get up the next morning and I'd write more of that. And there's something that is so liberating getting it from here onto paper. It's incredible. And even with all the feels that come up, it's so empowering to get it out and get it, just there where you can read over and read it again. And so yeah, I just found the whole exercise really, really valuable. And they talk about journaling. It's interesting. People talk about journaling, and I've not done a lot of journaling other than when I was going through it. I used to journal a fair bit. I think that was part of my download as well. But I think just start to write your story and, type it up or talk into one of the apps, or just start and see what comes up for you. It's just an incredible experience.
I love that. That's really great advice.
Mm.
So what else are you up to, and what's next for you?
Oh, gosh. So I have launched an online business called Sweaty Sisters, which is a program for women in midlife to help them find their magic. And I found for the last 7 years, I've been going through menopause, and I've been in this bit of a funk. I call it the meno funk. And when I put women through transformations in my fitness studio here, I help them through healthy eating, healthy exercise, mindset, and how to set up their homes for success. And I've launched a new business for women in midlife to join a membership where I can help them do that. So that's the first thing I've launched. We've got almost 40 women in that membership, and we're launching again at the beginning of next year. But what all of this is the front end to is I want to create a program where I can help women of domestic abuse to teach them how to, and I want to collaborate with many other women and teach them how to create online businesses where they never have to rely on ex-partners or the government for handouts, where they never, ever have to choose going to work over being with their children.
What a gift that's going to be for people. That is such an amazing resource that is so, so needed.
Yeah. So there's a shelter in Canberra that COVID has we've been in lockdown for a little while. So I'm going to go and see that shelter, and I want to do a beta test of the program if I can with those women. And I want to help these women create their own online businesses where they can generate an income to look after their children, where they can get away from having to rely on, government funding and things like that, and stand on their own 2 feet, because that's what we want. We want to be able to look after our kids without having to rely on all of this stuff. And, there are women out there that can't even go and get car loans. They can't go and purchase things for their children when they are in this situation. So if I can help them create online businesses from home where they can work and still be mum to their kiddies, and generate an income where they never have to rely on anybody, that's what I want to do. So I'll be creating a program with that. I'll be connecting with all my network of women from various areas of business to try to collaborate on this. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I can get this sort of out into Australia, and then hopefully the business model for this can be used worldwide. That's what I'm hoping. So that's my next next thing, the Sweaty Sisters movement will actually feed into this. And I'm hoping that I can help many, many women, those that are in midlife, that are going through the second phase of their life, and those young ones that are coming through that might need a bit of assistance.
That's incredible. That is so incredible. And it reminded me too that, you know, to be doing something like this for women who are in abusive relationships or who have left, a lot of women won't leave an abusive relationship because they have kids and they can't work, or they don't even know, you know, they might want to work and they're okay about working, but they might not know what to do. And so they feel stuck. And it's such a disempowering thing when you feel stuck. So what you are doing is just remarkable.
Totally. And the connection there for me is when I started going through menopause, I actually felt disconnected to myself. And it reminded me a lot about that time of my life when I was going through my struggles in my marriage. I didn't know who I was. I was disconnected to myself. I used to look in the mirror and didn't know who I was. It was crazy. And then going through menopause, and everything that happens when you go through menopause, I felt the same way. So for me, I have this, I don't know, there's this bridge thing of what I went through as a younger mum, and now what I went through 7 years ago through menopause. I don't know why it felt the same, but it just did. So that's where I sort of want to bring all of that together. That's
amazing. So if you've enjoyed getting to know more about Bron and want to connect with her, you can do that through her website at sweatysisters.com. I love the name. Bron, thank you so much for being in this collaboration and for your time so early today. Your mission to help other women in abusive relationships is so inspiring, and I'm so honored that you chose to bravely share your story in absolute will. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.